Kylie here, still here at MI BOLC in Arizona, but we are close to the end. Only have less than a week before I go home, and yeah, a lot has happened. I think last time I did a video was 2 weeks ago, and since then we have had our leadership challenge and Bolex, and that's mostly it. Though that seems like a lot. So our leadership challenge was nothing extreme. It was just a morning of a competition where they mixed us up with the warrant officers and the captains that are here for their captain career course, and we competed against each other. So yeah, we had to do pull-ups, and we ran, and we did fireman carries, which actually was the hardest thing for me at least, and then carried water jugs and ran, and had to run up a hill and answer questions while being in the prone position, and ran back and did a bunch of push-ups, and I think that was about it. I think that's all the bits. But it's kind of a crapshoot about whether you win or not, because you never know who's going to be in the groups they mixed up. But however, my group did win, which was very cool. But we didn't win anything or any prizes or anything. But it was it's always nice to win something, right? So that was a fun competition, and Bolex was after that. And they have, I guess Bolex has been different in the past and will probably be different in the future, but we went out in the field. Really, it's doing the same thing we've been doing, building IPB products, doing mission analysis, but doing it out in the field, in a field environment, in tents. But the piece that probably made this a little bit different than other people's Bolex is that and what has gone on every time we've gone out in the field while I've been here, is that it has been the coldest days. And I mean that the weather here is almost consistent. It's almost exactly the same every day, where it could be, I mean, at least here in the winter time, it can be 30s or 40s in the morning and gets up to 50s, 60s, 70s during the day. But all the times we've been in the field, it's been extraordinarily cold. And this time when we rucked 8 miles to our field location, it dumped snow on us. We were caked with snow. Snow was drifting up on our shoulders. It was great, actually. Some people really hated it, but I thought it was pretty exciting. So we got out there, set up in tents, and again, a lot of people froze. We stayed out there 2 nights, but I stayed pretty warm. It's probably because I got a little fat on me, but a lot of people froze. And then they brought us back in because the weather was about to do a even worse downturn, so they pulled us back in right before it dumped a bunch more snow. So we rucked back in pretty good weather, and actually the base was shut down the next day, so we got an unexpected 3-day weekend. And we've had an incredible amount of snow days since I've been here. I think we've been here in their, I don't know, people have said 10-year snow storm, so it's been pretty snowy. Suffice to say, we tried to work on a lot of our products out there, analog products, and we managed to do some stuff. My talk this time, we kind of messed up on something, so we had to start over. So we were rushing quite a bit, but we got back, got our 3-day weekend, and then didn't go back out in the field, but they have tents set up here on post that we went out to every day to finish. So we did a whole mission analysis brief, and then a couple of one day, we lost some days in there, so we did a mission analysis brief late after the 3-day weekend, and then we did 1 day of BUBS, a battle update brief, as the battle changed, because at this point we're getting injects of information, so things are changing on a daily basis. The threat is moving. We did some battle, and then they retreated, and then we engaged them again. So we're continuing getting injects of information about what's changing, reports on stuff, on enemy positions. All very fascinating. So did a battle update brief 1 day, and then we did a whole nother day of mission analysis on the new battle that was about to take place. So it was very cool. It was, it was all out in the tents, and these last days were much better weather-wise, and we didn't have to sleep in the snow. We had to set up the tents. It snowed when we went out to the field. Snowed while we set up tents, and there was more than a half-foot of snow on the ground inside our tents that we set up. So that was amazing. Suffice to say, inside those tents was muddy, and then when we got back and used those other tents, they were also muddy. But it was neat to set up in those tents, operate like a real talk, kind of a real talk. I'm sure in the real world it's much different than what we were doing, but at least it kind of felt cool to have our maps up and be building these products and trying to understand what the enemy is doing, and making our assessments and briefing them to, at this point they had a lot of commanding officers coming out there. We briefed a colonel and 1 day, and a lieutenant colonel another day, and a captain another day. So you're talking to some different people. I think actually the general comes out there sometimes, but we didn't see them for us. And everyone's a little bit anxious because I guess recently they recycled somebody during Bolex who had briefed the CG, the commanding general here, a couple times. Couple times he briefed the CG, and then he ended up being recycled. And I think, and it's rough because it's almost here at the end of course. He got recycled at the beginning of the next course. So we only lost one person during our class, and that was due to her getting a DUI. So what they say, don't drink and drive, you should take it seriously, because unless you really want to live in Arizona for longer than 5 months. But she's the only one who's recycled in our class, and that was a while ago. Yeah, but it stink to get to this point, to Bolexing, and then get recycled to the beginning. So if you are having trouble as a briefer or speaker, I would say try to let that be something you practice, and find a way to work on it, and to improve that skill, because that's one of the main skills that people in MI are going to be using anyway, moving forward. Since you're going to be communicating with sometimes people that, outrank you quite a bit, and you're going to have to try to appear as somebody who's competent and smart. So I guess maybe I'm out already. I can feign being competent and smart a little bit. Anyway, what else? We had the Bolex, and then out behind Nicholson Hall, and that was it. The last graded event we had was out behind Nicholson Hall, and then lately we've been doing a little bit of combatives here right at the end, and now it's all about getting ourselves organized and getting out of here. They're doing a lot of AARs at different levels. I think we're going to do a survey. I wish I would have been taking notes from the beginning, because I feel like I could have written, I don't know, an article on the 50 things I wish it would have been different about BOLC. And I think there's a few things that I like that could have stayed the same, but as with everything, it's always easier to complain about stuff than to be excited about stuff, I guess. But yeah, I think these MI Bullet classes transition a lot. We were supposedly the first ones to do more stuff in the field. We might not have been the very first ones, but I think they're testing out different types of I don't know, teaching this class, so I think that is transitioning all the time. And yeah, I think they tested out some stuff with us, and I don't know if it worked out pretty good, very good, but I think anytime you're in the midst of transitioning with stuff, even if it's a good idea, it can be rough hashing out the details, so they're probably going to continue to change things. I know one of the newer ideas that was part of our class was spending 30 full days in the field, and so we at least spent 2 weeks completely in the field. That's sleeping out in tents all together, but then I think that included some of those days out in the field was days where we went out to the field and then came back and stayed in our rooms in the hotel, and then went back out to the field the next day. So I think those were counted amongst the 30. And I don't know how I'd count it up to see if we actually did spend 30 days in the field, but we spent a good number of weeks, at least 3 weeks, I would say, altogether. But anyway, I think I'll probably end up doing one more video once we leave Fort Hauchuca, and I might do one where it's just an overview of everything. I'm trying not to do anything in the video where I'm just complaining about stuff, but things that I think might have been helpful through different ways, again, that we might be able to prepare for the whole thing. But hopefully these are helpful to somebody. If not to somebody, it's just fun for me to make a video. Anyway, feel free to comment. Let me know if you have any questions. And again, really, with any of this stuff here, one thing I wish I would have been done more is be willing to ask more questions during exams. I was thinking about this lately. The guy who I believe is getting to be the what is it, the valedictorian or whatever, the #1 student amongst us, I think was more willing to ask questions during exam. And in my mind, I'm like, I think I'm programmed to think we're not allowed to ask questions during an exam, but I think teachers, instructors here are very willing to not give you the answer, but to clarify it enough in a way where it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I think if I would have done a little bit more, I probably could have upped my ranking. But from what I hear, this class was one of the more competitive classes that have been here, and I can see how that is, because we had a lot of great people in this class, a lot of high performers, and we really had a high average in this class. It was very competitive, very tough to be in the top percentages, while still having a high percentage oneself. So I think the average for this class was 92%, I think. So you'd still have to have a pretty high grade to get ahead of everybody else for this class. I've already heard there's a class that's coming in after us that like 10 people failed their first exam or something like that. But again, don't take any exams lightly, even if they're open book exams. Make sure you're prepped and ready, and that you understand things that you don't think you understand. So make sure you ask questions, because it's going to build and build and build and build and build. And if you lose a piece of information in the beginning, you got to make sure to get it before you get to your next exam. So being willing to ask questions before exams, but even during exams, I think would be helpful. And the few times I did, it was helpful, and I just kind of wish I would have done that more. Anyway, I'll let you go. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.